Hey, what's up? This is Jake here in Jake's shop. It's been a little bit since I've done an update on the Camaro, and I thought I'd go ahead and make a video on what I've done over the summer. Last video I did was pretty recent, was on the hood, and it was sandblasting the other side of the hood, which went out pretty well. Since then, and over summer, there's been a lot going on with this car. The first major thing I've done is the shop, you might notice here, is a lot different. We've got a paint booth set up. I don't really know how to set up a paint booth. I know the ideas behind it, so I'll go ahead and go through a bunch of the stuff that I did in my thought process in building this paint booth. So a lot of building the paint booth, for me at least, was obviously getting that clean air, trying to keep dust down. I have seen some pretty awesome pictures of guys, and actually seen in person guys that have done their own cars in their own shops with a minor paint booth setup. Having a car painted is probably the most expensive part of having anything done to a car. If you were going to decide to build a car yourself, the paint and bodywork component of it is huge. It's, you know, a third, I would say, I'd argue, at least in most of these builds, if you try to build your own car. So my attempt here in building this booth was just that. Keep those costs down, but also have fun. My goal was to just keep the dust down. I'm using some very expensive paints, and most automotive paints are just expensive, and I don't want to ruin my paint job. So spending a few $100s, I've got a few $100s into this setup. Luckily, I've got a pretty big shop. The other nice thing I've got is heat. Behind the camera, you can't see it, is the door into my shop, but that will be the air intake, and this is my heat. And then it goes into the booth through the filters here. So some of the things I was thinking of when I was going to build this booth had to do with this filter wall that you see here. Basically, all we've got here is a row of filters. They're just a 2-inch filter, 24 by 24, and that's my air intake. So the idea is the air comes in through the door of the shop, it gets preheated by this gas unit heater, mixes up a little bit, and then flows through the booth nice and easy. The wall is a temporary wall. I'll go ahead and flip the camera around and I'll kind of zoom into a little bit of how I built it. It's real quick, it's real cheap, it was real, I want to say, kind of archaic, but it's working great for some of the initial stuff I've done to this car with it. And then we'll go in and take a look at the Camaro and kind of see what I've been doing. Okay, taking a little closer look at this filter wall. I don't have the greatest lenses set up yet, so I am zoomed all the way out. It's going to be hard to see this, but basically what you've got there is just an angle, metal angle. Luckily, I do work with a sheet metal shop, and I just had some cheap angle bent up real quick, screwed it together, and then threw the filters in, taped them. So all that is a sheet metal frame. Kind of see it, it's all taped up here behind here. And then I screwed the frame, you know, here's the metal coming down here, and then there's a leg. You can see the metal legs on there. Again, that's just a temporary kind of a frame just to hold up the filter racks. You know, so I've got 3 of those set up there, and then they're just kind of screwed into those 2x4s. The 2x4s themselves are just wedged into the ceiling. You can see I've taped it off to my ceiling pretty well there, and that goes all the way across and all the way back and all the way around. Same with the floor. You know, this is an old barn, you know, that I converted to a shop. So the ceiling moves a little bit, and I just basically, these 2x4s were slightly short, obviously, and I wedged them up in there, made a mark, screwed the 2x4s together, and then tilted them back up to wedge them in the ceiling. You know, you don't want to go pressing on it, but it's working so far for me. And I went ahead and threw a little tape up there. But again, I want this to come down when I'm done. You know, I don't have all this room all the time, but for painting the car, it's... so far it's working really good. I haven't obviously started shooting a ton of paint through here, but just made a makeshift door. You know, I want to say all the lumber and all the plastic and everything, I'm definitely less than 300 bucks into that. And this whole thing, you can see I used some of the initial post in my shop, and it's taped off to the floor, you know, just wedged around here. So yeah, as we go in, boom, there's the filter wall. We're in the inside now. Again, I kind of just tried to tape off most any vent I could. That exhaust vent will get taped off as well. That's I have a general exhaust system in here as well, but it's nothing compared to what I want for this car when I go to paint it. You can see it's just taped off everywhere. Luckily, I've got my reg assembly in here. That's one of them. There's another one outside, but that's the final filter assembly, reg assembly for my paint. And then everything comes down and it's tied off to a fan. This is a 24 inch, I believe, paddle fan, just a Harbor Freight special, nothing crazy. You can see I've been doing some other painting. I painted some signs, artwork stuff for a buddy, and kind of tried to test it out. But yeah, that's on low speed. On low speed, this thing actually does something pretty cool. You know, I haven't really been painting the car in here. I have been assembling the car, but we'll go look at that in a second. First, I'll finish this section. So yeah, my air piping coming up and around, it's still, you know, it's always been in here, so it's just where I can use it. I won't be using that hose reel. The other thing, when I go to paint this car, I will be wetting the floors down quite a bit, and I will be spraying the walls lightly with, I've got just a little pump sprayer that'll work really well. Now, I kept the filters low. In my mind, I want that air to transfer across the booth, kind of laminar, kind of across the front of the car, all the way back and out. And I don't want stuff dropping down, and I didn't want it there, you know, getting sucked up. I kind of want to flow across fairly evenly. And I don't want it to be, you know, shooting air really quickly. I don't want the velocity of this air to be, you know, super strong. I kind of want it just to automatically kind of pull through it. So I wasn't really sure how it would work. But I said, you know, why not just try it? I can always get a different fan or try and do a speed controller if it doesn't work out that way. So here, let's go ahead and, I'll show you the outside next. Okay, we're back outside, and this is my exit point for my general exhaust for my paint booth. I kind of took the, you know, Harbor Freight special fan here and cut a hole in my door, but it works. You know, that's basically an insulated panel that goes over the fan when it's not in use. Since it's been summer, I haven't really bothered setting it up completely, but yeah, so there's the fan. So let's go turn this on, see what it looks like. Now again, I have been practicing with this booth setup with other things. I haven't really been painting the car in here. You know, primer and stuff's one thing, you know, but I was painting some signs. I'm gonna paint a little spoiler for my uncle. Just doing a couple little missions in here just to kind of test it and use it and see what it does. Like I said, haven't been painting the car yet. When I go to paint the car, I will be wetting down the floor. I'll be putting more seals in this door. You can see this door frame is it's just a temporary little frame setup I made. You know, nothing special there. And I did make a little jam for it, you know, just rip some one by one. And I'll be putting a foam gasket here. But what I find interesting about all of that is, and this is just lightweight painter's plastic. I would almost go, I wish I would have went a little heavier. It works, it's not ripping. My kids have been, you know, putting their fingers in it a little bit, but I did tape wherever I hit, you know, I basically just stapled the 2x4, but I taped it first and then threw some staples in, because what's gonna happen here, we'll go ahead and turn the fan on and you kind of see what happens here. Now, be mindful that door right there is open right now. And we're just gonna go ahead and go over to this Harbor Freight special fan that I've got, and I'm gonna put it on, you can see this, off low, just low, okay? Suck the door right shut. And that's it. It's really hard to see. You know, I will be shooting more video when I go to actually spray the car. I'll probably do something, some videos of it actually spraying. But what you can see, it's hard to see, but this stuff is all taunt now, and it's just bowed in just a little bit. It's under complete negative pressure. Guys will argue negative versus positive pressure. For me, this is what I want. It's working really well. I can, you know, obviously you can't see it, but I feel perfect laminar flow across here. And it's ever so slight. It's not, you know, it's not blowing my hair around or anything, but I feel this cooler air since it's slightly cool. You know, it's a little early this morning still. It's just perfect. I am gonna set up some additional lighting, got some LED bars. You know, I want that light to hit these panels when I'm working in here, when I go to paint this car. So, overall, I'm really happy with how this thing turned out, you know, for the money. You know, I didn't really know what to expect, and like I've said, I've had a chance to actually, you know, do some little painting projects in here, and so far I'm really happy with it. So I think this is really going to make the paint turn out on this car quite well. you know, obviously before paint, there's a lot of things you know that'll happen to this car, and also with the dust. You know, just even if I go to dust things off, let's see if I can. Obviously, there's dust on the floor. I haven't really been in here for a little while, but. Yeah, you're not really going to be able to see it apparently, but it's perfect. It's evacuating out really nicely, and so far I'm really happy with it. So if you have any questions on this paint booth, and I'll try and answer them, but really there isn't a whole lot to it other than 2x4s, staples, tape, and obviously this fancy little filter wall. But like I said, with that fan running, it's working great. So on to the car. Okay, so the Camaro at this point is coming together, actually. Obviously, I shot the video about the underside of the hood, got it sandblasted. I went ahead and painted it. Yeah, there we go. It turned out really nice. I really can't complain for the underside of a hood. Again, good practice. Like I've been talking about on this car, been prepped all the jams for the most part. You can kind of see them. The jams in there, jams in there. Went ahead and I'm going to leave the hinges flat black. I like that look. That's just what I'm going to do. It's a preference thing. I've seen them painted too, and if they're done right, they can look pretty good. You know, aligning these panels is been a nightmare. I've probably got at least 40 hours in aligning panels, and I'm not done yet. Probably a little picky. I want this car to be really nice, you know. Watching these body lines, making sure they're even on both sides. There's a ton of information on the internet and guys that try to do that, and I'm not gonna do a video on how to do that. It's trial and error and patience. Lots of patience, and you know, bending things, and you know, the body panels from the factory on these cars do not fit as well as you think. And a lot of these nice, you know, the super high-end show cars, you know, guys are paying $150,000, $200,000 for these cars or more. They're actually making them 10 times better than the factory. But, you know, you can see that body line, that just looks beautiful to me. That's, you know, I want this car to look a little factory. I'm not going for, you know, the craziest setup on this. Again, this isn't a $200,000 car, but it's going to be a really nice car. So just watching these lines, making sure these lines line up. You know, I still have a lot of final body work to do on this car. I've only done the major body work, the big stuff, the welding the patch panels and getting some of that initial stuff done. But overall, you know, things you're looking for. Anytime you look at a car, you know, watching the top of the door versus the top of the edge of the cars, just to see how they line up. A lot of things aren't lined up most times, especially you go to a car show and you ever look at that closely, you'll see guys don't have those lined up. And I'm no you know, high-end professional. I'm not as good as other people. There's some guys out there that are just phenomenal, but I'm having a lot of fun with this, and I'm pretty happy with how these are turning out. Again, not done. You know, sometimes you'll see this seam will be different on each end, and it'll be higher or lower, and still playing with it. This one's still driving me nuts. I'm still working on it. The height is good for the most part. It needs to come up just a little bit. You can see that? I don't like that. So I got a little bit of a hairline to fix there. This line's looking pretty good. Again, I've been moving the fenders in and out, and you know, closing the hood, opening the hood, and just checking gaps. Some of this stuff actually has to be ovaled out a little bit to get it to line up. You know, when you're putting these bolts in, you know, if that fender needs to come in or out, and just to get all these lined up, there's a ton to it. So I probably won't do another video for a little while, but I thought it'd be fun to do an update. And next time I'll probably go ahead and shoot some video of me priming this and really getting this booth, you know, getting to use the booth. Seeing how it works, maybe shoot some video with me actually priming. So hope everything's going good. Hey, if you like this video at all, hit like and subscribe. And like I said, I'll answer some questions if there's any that need to be answered there as far as how this booth was made and how it's going to work. Thanks.